welcome again to another show of the Deeper Conversations. I'm your host, Zipora Gachuche. Yet again, very excited to be with you on this show to bring insights, wonderful conversations with empowering information. You're most welcome. Please stay tuned. And today, we are joined by a wonderful lady who I'll give the opportunity to introduce herself, to tell us what it is she does, as we pick on a very interesting conversation that I know you'll find quite insightful. Joyce, you're welcome to the Deeper Conversations show. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Zippy.
Yes.
Thank you for having me here today.
You're welcome.
So my name is Joyce. I am a midwife.
Mm-hmm.
I am also a humanitarian worker. And I sing as well. I write.
Mm-hmm.
I keep a blog. And I also have a podcast called the Bathing Stool podcast,
Mm-hmm.
in which I discuss maternal health issues, especially surrounding pregnancy, labor, and delivery.
Wow. You do so much. You are truly alive.
Thank you.
You're like a multi-colored flower that brings forth all these beautiful scents and colors.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for that. And today I would want us to focus on your area of midwife. And just to start off the conversation, why midwife?
Wow. So really after my first training, my training in nursing,
Mm-hmm.
I had this passion to just be able to be a part of the process of
Yeah.
having a baby and bringing life,
Mm-hmm.
into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy working with expectant moms and just being able to walk with them through the journey of pregnancy
Mm-hmm.
and prepare them for a safe delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Awesome. I think for me, I find these conversations, this one in particular,
Mhm.
very almost personal, because I'm a mother myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time I carried my first baby.
Mm-hmm.
I found it so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So amazing that there is another human being growing inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
I found that to be, quite something.
Mm-hmm.
And just that there is a way that a whole human being can be fashioned and come together in deep secrecy, because it's not something we see,
Mm-hmm.
And I really held that very highly, and even just the whole process of childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, this becomes a very interesting conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just want you, because now that is your area, this is something you do almost, you see it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that, the almost sacredness, the mystery
Mm-hmm.
from, of conception, of a human being growing within another human being,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and even just the whole journey all the way to childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think motherhood is such a gift,
Yes.
if you ask me, because the Bible says, "I knew you before you were born. I
Mm-hmm.
formed you in your mother's womb."
Mm-hmm.
So it's really an opportunity that women are given to partner with God
I love that.
in
Yes.
in creation,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. and nurturing a new life.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I also appreciate the fact that every child is born with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine God allowing that baby to be conceived in an
Within.
individual.
Mm-hmm.
Not, your baby could not have been born with from another woman. It had to be you,
Mm-hmm.
because there's something that God put in you
Yeah.
to nurture that particular baby,
Yeah.
for them to grow up and be able to fulfill their assignment
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the earth. So I think it's quite a privilege
Mhm.
that women have.
I like what you called it, partnering
Mm-hmm.
with God.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like partnering with God in a very divine assignment of bringing forth new life
Mm-hmm.
into the world.
Yeah.
In fact, bringing forth a whole destiny, a whole assignment,
Mm-hmm.
a person who is assigned like it says in the book of Jeremiah, you have mentioned it in the Bible that, you know, when Jeremiah was feeling off and not adequate for the assignment ahead of him, and God told him, I fashioned you in your mother's womb. So it really is quite, you know, like you have said, quite a privilege, like you called it.
Yeah.
And how, you know, just briefly, how has that been for you? You know, just seeing, you know, just walking through that journey, working with different mothers, working, you know, maybe with many who may not understand it, even as a sacred assignment, like we'd want to call it, or such an important, you know, journey. So how has it been for you?
Okay, I remember several instances during my career in the labor ward. You know, you'd meet different kinds of mothers, each one coming with their own unique challenges. They could be health challenges, they could be emotional issues, probably from a difficult marriage. And she's there, and all she has is you at that point in time, with all the baggage that she's carrying. You know, so for me, really, I really treasure that moment, because I have to carry her safely. In spite and despite the issues that surround, and make sure that she gets through that labor and delivery safely. And, you know, just be alert through the process, because complications can arise, emergencies do happen. And, you know, just be able to be on time, and make sure that everything falls in place, and the process is through safely.
So actually, it goes beyond just making sure, okay, is the baby out? Have you, you know, have you eaten well? Have you, next? It is more than that.
It is more than that, and more so once the baby is born. I'm the first one to see this baby even before the mother. You know. So a midwife can either kill that baby or let it live. And not necessarily killing physically, just by the words you speak at that point in time. Just the first touch that child has on the face of the earth. Imagine it's the touch
it is
of
yours.
a midwife.
It is a midwife.
So it's really
even before the mother.
Even before the mother. So it's really a sacred moment.
I like that. And even before that, that you said even the mother is still in your hands.
Yes, for sure.
That as she now walks that journey, especially in that moment of childbirth, she literally is helpless and in your hands. Whatever happens at that moment, you, depending on how much weight you have put on your assignments to bring forth this life, it all really will depend on you. I like that. And I can relate, because now that you say it, sorry to bring it back to my own situation, because especially for my first child, I had a doctor who was, you know, so sensitive to everything, every moment, everything that is happening, and even the vulnerability of the mother at that point, because then they wholly depend on you as the midwife.
That is true. I remember the story of the two midwives in the Bible. When Pharaoh, you know, was threatened by the growing population of the Hebrews. And he gave an order that all male children should be killed at birth, you know, because he felt threatened. But you see, God had an agenda way into the future. So these two midwives are positioned, and they realize, you know what, we are not going to kill these babies, but we are going to you know, to protect them. And well, they defied the order. I want to believe they were putting their lives at risk. But they honored God and allowed these children to live. So, I mean, what if they had obeyed? What would have happened to the Hebrews?
What if they had taken their assignment as midwives lightly? Carelessly. Whatever goes. After all, I'm here to just ensure this job is done. Whoever is giving birth, whoever is living lives, whoever dies. But because they within them, they were sensitive to the fact that now the killing of male children, that was almost intentional to finishing a whole tribe.
Yes.
Because the male is a seed carrier.
Exactly.
And that was the intention of Pharaoh.
Exactly.
Just, slowly now start cutting off these people.
Yeah.
And again, I would call it partnering with God, because again, they stood in the gap.
Yes.
And decided we will not do this thing. And in the process, also Moses
was born
and saved.
That's true.
And the deliverer of Israel.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
I like that. And even now, before even we get to the childbirth part, even the mother, how you handle the mother has come to you. I am in this situation, okay. And of course, pregnancy is, in most cases, a very exciting time for most mothers. But like you have said, many come with many other issues, many other, maybe back home, there is all this that is happening. And many of them may not see what we are saying now, the excitement, the sacredness, the mystery of carrying a child within you and bringing it to term, and even bringing forth new life. So again, you do walk the journey with the mother to ensure, because I think I've checked out a few of your podcasts and you talk about nutrition, the care of the mother, so that by the time they get to that point, they get there safely and in good health and well able. Tell us about that.
Okay. Any journey you go through, you have to prepare for it.
Yes.
With the end goal in mind.
Yes.
So I want to believe pregnancy has to be carried and taken with the weight and seriousness that it deserves.
Yes.
Because even before conception, the woman's body has to be ready, to bear that baby. There are changes that happen physically. There are changes that happen emotionally, socially, financially, literally in every aspect of this mother. So it's important that somebody has the right information and the right knowledge to be able to, anticipate how 6 months down the line will look like, 8 months down the line, when do I go to hospital, what is labor, for example.
What should I expect?
What should I expect?
What should I do?
What should I do? Can I go in alone? Will you be there for me? So yes, I on my podcast, I just try to prepare and just provide simple information that any woman can easily adapt and be able to apply in their journey. Of course, it is evidence-based, because you have a lot of information in the internet. Not all of it is worth taking. But that said, it's important that also somebody intentionally prepares also to, have antenatal clinics where they go and get checked by a doctor or a midwife, just to make sure that everything, her and her baby are okay. So yes, preparing for the journey is very important.
It's important.
Yeah.
Now, let's discuss. So the mother has walked this journey, has reached this point, and the point of childbirth, anything could happen. Many things do happen.
Yes.
And we've had scenarios where there are different kinds of bringing out the baby, where it can be a normal delivery, it can be a C-section, what they call a cesarean section. So maybe touch briefly on when is a C-section necessary, and why can't I just be led to just go this thing the natural way, the way God said, or rather designed, that this is the way it should be?
Okay, that's a very valid question. Because in the most recent years, I think it seems to be the easier option. Because I won't go through labor, the many hours of labor pains and pushing. But then, that said, there are indications, valid indications for an emergency cesarean section or even an elective or planned one. For example, when the mother's health or life is at risk, or the baby's life is at risk. Maybe the mother has severe high blood pressure, and keeping her continuing in pregnancy and labor, we can easily lose her. So yes, we manage the pressure and any other surrounding issues, and then we plan to get that baby out soonest and in the safest way possible. That's just one example. For example, now for the baby, if the baby's heartbeat is abnormal, what we call fetal distress. It could be the cord of the baby is around the neck. Of course, we cannot see that. Maybe during labor, or the baby has a pus stool in the womb. What we call meconium staining when the water has broken. So for sure, we cannot allow labor to proceed for that mother.
It becomes an emergency.
It becomes an emergency. Of course, depending on the stage of the labor. If she's almost approaching a delivery and you can safely deliver the baby, then you can allow her to have a normal delivery. But if it's early labor, then you're putting her baby at risk. So there are valid reasons for emergency CS. There are also valid reasons for planned CSs.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask. Now all those are happening. We have gotten there, then you realize, oops, something else is happening here. Can you quickly rush her to theatre?
Exactly.
But can I plan this in advance?
Yes, you can. If maybe the baby is big, maybe 4 kilos and above. And the mother's pelvic bone is not wide enough to handle a normal delivery, then for sure.
Is that a natural situation, like where the pelvic
bone
is not sufficient?
Yes.
That is a natural.
Yes.
Either have it or I don't.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Different women have different sizes of the pelvises.
But then how do I know that?
Now your doctor will be able to identify that.
Okay.
That's also one of the reasons you have a scan during pregnancy. So it's important to have your antenatal checks during pregnancy. So yes, some of these things can be picked up before one is ready to deliver. Then you have a planned cesarean section.
So what if, like you're saying, because that's a natural occurrence, you're saying, either have it or I don't. Perchance that for one reason or the other, it wasn't picked up in advance. Either I didn't do my antenatal checkups, I didn't, for whatever reason. I remember, when back in school, we had girls who would get pregnant in school, and those things used to remain secret. You will not even know. Then one day,
you see someone holding a baby.
Allah, you're like, whose? So in such a case, there is a likelihood that such a lady may not have gone through the clinics, the checkups, and such a thing was not picked up. So now it's time for delivery, and as you're saying, the pelvic space is not sufficient. So then what happens in such a case? Does that make it another emergency cesarean?
Most likely. Because if the baby cannot be born through this pelvis, which is already a natural thing, then yes, that would be the alternative, the option.
Would that be the reason why maybe one or two, home deliveries sometimes don't, if that wasn't picked up in advance? Because we've also seen cases where there are very successful home deliveries, and then others that are not so successful. So could that be one of the reasons why some of them are not as successful? Yes,
you're right. But before a home delivery, I want to believe a home delivery, you have a midwife working with you. She has assessed, she has worked with you through your entire pregnancy. And for her to comfortably agree to deliver you at home,
she has done all those checkups.
She has assessed and is confident.
So that means even if you're doing a home delivery, it is good to make sure you have a professional midwife walking the journey with you.
Yes.
So that they are able to see all these
red flags.
Yeah. In case they are any. So that by the time you get there, okay, good, okay. Yeah, clears there. Yeah, all right.
It's important. And I think also, like in the rural setting, we have these traditional birth attendants.
Yes,
we have community health workers.
Yes.
And they have, I want to believe there's a level of sensitization and skills that they have.
They can use,
that they can use.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes you have things not going the right way in the rural areas. Maybe they don't have a health facility that is within reach.
Yes. In case such a scenario comes up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yes, even in the traditional birth attendants from way back,
they know how to check these things.
Yeah,
I agree. Okay, I like that. So C-section can actually, the cesarean can actually be pre-planned, but can I take it just because I don't want to go through? Are there consequences to that? I guess maybe the fear of labor, because we hear stories of the labor ward that can just, freak somebody out sometimes. It is possible. Not because there's anything wrong with me, I just don't want to go through the labor.
It is possible.
Yeah.
I mean, people do that because they want, to have also maybe a level of control over this entire birthing process. But many times, maybe people really don't know the whole picture.
Yes.
Because then things like recovery of the body takes longer post-cesarean. You have a scar, which is different from the
normal delivery where the body just adjusts back.
Exactly. So recovery healing takes much longer. It also somehow limits the number of children somebody can have, because with the first scar you can have a maximum of 3 cesarean sections, for example. Why? Because you also don't want to put much strain on the uterus because of
after the scar,
because of a risk of rupture of this uterus in labor, if at all you go through labor later.
Because flexibility then of the uterus now becomes reduced,
particularly at the scar area. So any tension on it is risky.
Okay.
And again, with the first CS, you can only have, it is safest to have another baby after 2 years. So there are risks on both sides, but there are more risks
with the cesarean section.
With the CS, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Okay. I think that is something we just take for granted, because true. Because we have seen mothers who are able to go through 6 children. Others now, because of the cesarean scar, after that you can only do another 2, making it a maximum of 3. And that's it. And again, you can try labor after the cesarean, the first. There is something called trial of labor. But again, if the woman doesn't progress as expected, there is also obviously a tendency to still end up with a cesarean section. I think what I'm trying to say is we handle you more cautiously. More carefully. More carefully. Of course, we'll assess you and carefully monitor you much more. Because of the risks that this previous scar poses. So yes, and again, you cannot be induced. Induction of labor would be much after the cesarean now. After the first,
yes.
So induction
very,
now,
very cautious.
becomes now again a no-go. Oh wow. Okay, so that's actually, the cesarean actually makes you a more, I don't want to call it a complicated case, but a more sensitive.
Yes.
Going forward. Makes now childbirth for somebody even more sensitive, more careful, more timelines, Okay, all right. Good to know that. We'll take a short break.
Okay.
And as we come back, we can take up the conversation once again and even go wider and deeper.
Okay.
Thank you. And viewer, we'll take a short break and we'll be back. Please don't go far. Welcome back, viewer, to the second half of this conversation. Today we have Joyce, who is a professional midwife, and we are getting into very interesting parts of this conversation. We have looked at just the foundation, the basics, the basic information of what it is that she does. Now we get to the second part of this conversation, and Joyce, you're welcome yet again, and thank you once again for joining us on this show. So now we take on the conversation on a very interesting part. We want to discuss something that I would not want to call it very new, but that has been growing over the years, where we see men wanting to be in the labor ward together with their wives, or and tell us about that. Let me not comment. You tell us about it. The benefits.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. That's an interesting question you ask, because for men, whether it's the spouse or the partner, or relative, because someone may opt to have somebody else other than, they are the main social support for this woman. There may be a level of emotional dependency, so for them to want to be there, I want to believe it's from a point of wanting to add value to this process, and also to just have the joy of participating in the bringing forth of their baby, or this baby. The challenge comes in when maybe he's not psychologically prepared
for what goes on,
or what to expect, what exactly happens in there. We've seen men come in at the beginning, they're all strong, encouraging the lady during
we can
labor.
Do this.
We can do this. They're rubbing her back, giving her water. But then when you enter into the delivery room, the story changes. So you end up having two patients.
Oh my.
Two people to look after.
After
instead of one.
One is trauma, one is childbirth.
So it's a good thing, yes. I think it's really, really special that they can be there for their partner and for their baby. But then when it gets too much to handle, it's normally safer that they can just be excused for that moment when the heat is a bit too much.
Does it create a stronger bond between the child and the father, because now they have witnessed the journey of their child coming into earth? Does it give them more respect, more love, more attachment to this child? Do they see this child differently, as opposed to another who will come home and find the baby has come, a gift has come home? Does it make a difference?
Of course it does, in a big way. But again, there are those who don't want to go in. Because they would rather just wait for the baby and the mother when the whole process is out. So it's really an individual choice. But yes, I mean, those who have gone through it have found it quite valuable. And yes, they give the mother more respect.
Yes, I can imagine.
Because they've seen what she's had to go through. Through that process.
Wonderful. So now I want us to digress just a bit, because even as we were talking and just listening to you, I'm also thinking there is such a connection. The process you have described of a mother who has conceived and now is taking the journey towards childbirth, the care that they give, the sensitivity with which they need to handle the whole situation. They become a completely different person. Everything is affected emotionally, physically. They're no longer the same person. And eventually they have to walk that journey, which is a whole 9 months. And then come to this point where now again they have to go through experience, which can also be, is quite, intense of bringing forth this new life. And after that, there is also the process of nurturing the child and everything that is involved. And I was just thinking, the connection between that and bringing forth a personal destiny, because that honestly sounds to me like also the conceiving of a personal destiny, getting to know this is who I am, or this is who God has called me out to be, and walking that journey of bringing it to fulfillment, or to even feeding into it, and to the point where we can now see you bringing it forth, and we can now see, this is what you are called to be, this, just fitting it into your life's assignment. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that is such a deep question.
Yeah.
I say that because, like you rightfully put it, there is no pregnancy that is public.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right from conception.
Yes.
It's a very intimate process.
Yeah.
Very secret and very private and very personal. If we can quote the scripture we quoted earlier on, where from Jeremiah, God telling him, I knew you before, I formed you in your mother's womb.
Yeah.
So God taking the time to form means he's forming with an intention and a purpose,
an end goal.
So there's no child that is an accident. The means to the pregnancy is different. Same case,
not even the one that is thought to have come the wrong way or the right way.
So each child is born with a purpose.
Yes.
I also remember the story of Moses, who was born when all male children were going to be wiped out. But his mother and father recognized, no, there's something special about this child. And fast forward, he grows up in Pharaoh's house.
Yes.
The same guy who wanted him killed.
Yeah.
Then when he grows up and he realizes, no, this is not where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
He ends up in the desert, where he meets now. Remind me where he ends up with Jethro.
He meets his wife Zipora there. And it's another whole 40 years before now again.
Yes.
He has to return back.
Yes.
And the Lord tells him, now go back. Now you're good to go. Now you're ready.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a preparation moment.
Yes.
He had to come away from his people.
Yes.
In that moment of wilderness, he was going through preparation for the assignment that for which he was born, to be a deliverer for his people.
Yes.
So each and every person has that which God has ordained for them. And therefore, the minute we realize that, then we have the responsibility, the personal responsibility, to nurture that that gift. We sometimes we give it big names, a deposit, but it's really a gift.
Yeah,
it's really the reason for which you are born.
Yeah.
And we can only do that in the secret place, because each of us knows what we carry. And when the time is right, then step into it. And just walk in the fulfillment of that which one was born.
Again, going back now. So let's take that journey. So even before, I think that is something somebody discovers along the way.
Yes.
But like you said, in that secret place, even Moses had to be removed from his normal, from the people he knew, from the circles he knew, and into the wilderness, into a completely new space. Nobody knows him there. Neither does he know anybody, but God raises this support system around him in the form of Jethro and his family. And all the way from being a prince, he comes now to start handling sheep in the wilderness. And it's a whole another 40 years. But now we are looking at same to pregnancy. From the minute you conceive, the mother honestly does not know what it is they are carrying.
True.
They do not know whether this child looks like this or looks like that. But it is through the journey. As you feed into that pregnancy and you feed that child, you and it continues, you know, to take shape, and you know, oh, okay, oh, it's a boy. Then eventually, oh, it's like this, and eventually we'll hold the baby and say, ah, okay, you know, maybe the eyes are mine, the ears are the father's, or whatever. But then it becomes clear what it is that you are carrying. But that is after a whole 9 months.
Yes.
And 9 months in privacy.
Yes.
And for most destinies, in fact, for formation of destiny, I want to imagine it is also the same journey. And many times we want to hear. I'm a musician. Tomorrow I want the microphone and I want to sing, and I want. But then there is that journey, the privacy, the preparation, and many times we don't want that. Or you know, I'm a speaker of the word, or I'm a prophet, or whatever it is, you know, just the way Jeremiah had to walk a journey. So let's look at the mystery, you know, the mystery of formation, even of a child within the mother's womb, within that secret place, and you know, just that whole journey into that space of coming forth. Yeah.
Wow. You know, you've talked about preparation.
Yeah.
Which I think is key for this baby to be born.
Yeah.
Because we carry different gifts.
Yes.
So, for example, somebody is called a musician. They need to take time to understand why, and what is this about music that they're supposed to walk into. It's not just about holding the mic. It's about reaching out to souls. It's about ministering healing. It's about ministering restoration and life.
Yeah.
And drawing people to Christ.
Yeah.
So one has to really take the time to understand their assignment. And by that, well, there is a place for skill.
Yes.
We cannot ignore that.
Of course, yes.
Because David was a skillful player.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's how he was able to stand before King Saul. And, you know, he went in to minister to Saul, not knowing a few years later,
yes,
he will be sitting in that
same throne. Yes. It was actually his assignment.
Exactly.
The king's
so you realize how God allows us to go through specific experiences as he prepares us, and also checks our heart, checks our attitude, and shapes us for that end goal.
Yes.
I remember Joseph, for example. Joseph was a dreamer. He had all these big dreams of, you know, his family bowing down before him. But in all innocence, little did he know he would go through the process and end up being the savior, quote unquote, of his family. You know, so we go through different experiences which should help nurture us, you know, to the end goal. You know, you talk about Joseph, and Joseph's story, it is, you know, it is very rich, you know, from what you're saying. Then when he started dreaming, and out of innocence, out of trust, that you know, I mean, this must be a safe space. I'm amongst my people. I'm amongst my brothers, so I can say anything after all. I mean, what could go wrong? And everything went wrong. But you know, what I find amazing about Joseph, we talk of big
big visions, big gifts. And I get amused that if people were to be asked, you, what is yours? I sing. What is yours? For Joseph, what is yours? I dream.
Yes.
His gift was dreaming. Yes. Really. Yeah. You know, and interpreting dreams. Yes. You can, if today you are told, okay, the gift God has given you is to dream, although it is a very powerful one, because for example, like Solomon, that's where he connected with God. It is in a dream that he actually received his blessing, received wealth, received, was able to commune with God, and God asked him, what do you want? And he asked for wisdom. And how he slept and how he woke up, the person who slept and the person who woke up were two different people. You know, so dreaming is indeed a gift, but you need to walk that journey. Yes, like we are saying. Yeah, even to come to the end, to accept. Yeah, to realize it. This is who I am. Yeah. And to accept it, and then to learn and to be prepared. And I love what you said, the checking of your heart, the litmus test that always happens, and the Lord is very fond of that, of putting you in situations that just test you, and something comes out and you say, that was not me. It honestly was not me. And you know, yes. And then it's just like now what we are saying, the motherhood process, where you go for your clinical checkups, and you're told something here is off, your maybe red blood, what are they? They are low. So we need to do this and do that to make sure you're okay. So that continual checkup is the same process we are talking about in the discovery of, of your destiny, and coming to the fulfillment of it. But also the issue of who you are now. You're a midwife. And that means you are a very crucial part to a birthing mother. Like we said, the vulnerability, this is a woman who is at a very sacred point of her life. How you handle that moment, you as the midwife, will determine how this whole situation goes. Same thing, a destiny can come forth or a destiny can abort. That's true. Depending on who is around. Yes. So even spiritually, would you want to maybe talk about the sensitivity of those who are around?
Wow. It's very, very crucial to know who is around you. Yeah. Or to even be aware who you allow around you. Because I like that. Yeah, because not every midwife is assigned for you.
I love that.
Yeah, because then maybe what I carry you don't need, or somebody else needs it. So maybe in your life, at the point where you're birthing your baby, physically or not, or spiritually, can either do you good or harm. So I think it's very, very important for every individual, to just be alert and have discernment,
sensitivity,
be very sensitive, to be aware who they allow in their inner space. Yeah, who do they talk to? Yeah, who do they open up their heart to? I mean, like Joseph's situation, his own brothers were his enemies. Yeah, I mean, blood brothers. I'm not saying that families are bad, but that's just an example. It can be a close friend. Yeah, so it is very, very crucial to be very alert who we allow to walk with us. Yeah,
that journey. And it's just what you're saying. What I need, you might not be carrying it.
Exactly.
And that doesn't make you a bad person. No, it's just a disconnect.
Yes.
But I need to connect to the person who carries what I need at this particular time.
Exactly.
It's like going through a natural, pregnancy. And I insist, maybe for example, that a dentist is the one who's going to walk with me the journey. He is a professional, there's nothing wrong with him, but he does not have what I need for the journey that I'm walking.
That's true. I mean, it can even be, you have an option of 5 obstetricians.
Yes.
You know, you can go to obstetrician A,
yeah,
and you just don't connect.
Yeah.
It's okay to go to B and C.
Yeah, until where you feel
this one understands me.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, it's important to be aware and be careful who is around us, because then they can either help us bring forth a live baby or a stillbirth.
Yes.
I mean, now physically in the labor ward, I think delivering a stillbirth is one of the most devastating things that anybody can experience or even witness, both for the mother and for the midwife and everybody in that room, because somebody has invested their all, literally their life, for the past whatever months and maybe even years.
Yes,
you know, probably they had tried to conceive and they were not able to. Then they are there at that point. They had a live baby when they walked into the labor ward.
The baby was kicking inside. Things were happening.
Everything was okay.
Yeah.
But now, at the point of pushing, something just goes wrong. Yeah. So, again, whose fault is it?
Yeah, at that point.
At that point. So, accidents happen, yes. But it's important to be able to make sure that all things are in check before we get there. And I can only imagine that pain, and of course the expectation from, you know, family, from everybody. You know, we are all waiting for this newborn to come, and even them, especially the mother, even without going too far, maybe the mother and the immediate family, and the pain of walking in, like you have said, into labor ward with the life within you, and then walking out empty-handed. And that must be quite, I think devastation is even an understatement, because I know for that it also has long-term effects. It does.
And how then does a mother now, you know, even at such a point, and you have said it's not just for the mother, also for the midwife who has walked this journey with the mother. So then going forward, you know, let's just talk about that moment, and how does a mother pick up, and not just the mother, even with the immediate family. Maybe there's a spouse also who has been affected by this situation. So then what?
Wow. I think that takes us now into grieving.
Yes.
The phase of grieving. Because of loss.
Yes,
you know? And I want to believe everybody grieves differently. And just allowing that process of grieving is the beginning point.
Allowing it.
Yes. Because one has to first come to the, you know, awareness of the new reality. Because now, imagine you had shopped for this baby. You probably had prepared a nursery back at home. But now you're going back to emptiness, you know. So psychological support and social support is very, very important.
And learning even how to let go, because now, you know, there's all this that you had shopped. Now what do I do? It's not easy to just pack them up and get rid of them.
Not at all. But I think just letting the woman take a day at a time. And get herself to that point where she can get up and start to move again. It's not easy, but I think just allowing her the time is really very, very helpful.
So as we wind, you know, as we wind up, you know, again, I would want to just connect again. You know, that reminds me that it is the same way, even with a destiny, that it is possible to walk a destiny and yet abort it. Even that. And I remember the children of Israel who left Egypt and had with them the promise that we are going to the promised land. But many of them even though they carried the promise within them. The ones who entered
are not the same ones.
Are not the ones who left. So again, I think we still go back to the issue of the sensitivity with which you handle, and to even realize how powerful this moment is, you know, in partnering with God. So anyway, Joyce, share your, maybe your social media handle, how people can check you out if they need to reach out to you, even as we close.
For sure, thank you. So I am on Facebook at Joyce Muriuki. I'm on Instagram at Joyce Muriuki as well.
Yes.
I'm also on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel at Joyce Muriuki.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the show. I think we've had quite an interesting discussion. And we hope our viewer, you've also enjoyed the discussion today. And we look forward to being with you even on our next show. Thank you for being with us, even as we say goodbye, and looking forward to the next episode of Deeper Conversations.